Alright guys, Scrappy here and say, hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far, and finally, some interesting games here at the Call of Duty League. Some big storylines going on from start to finish today with major implications, but of course, the big game of the weekend, OpTic versus Ultra, closing out the day. Lots to dive into, very much into your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, this is the going into the day, winners bracket probability situation. So 4 teams, the top 4 teams, locked into winners. We then had one other team already locked in, which was the Vegas Legion going into today. No doubt, Vegas have had a very easy stage so far, and really, they need to maximize all the points they can get, because for Vegas, this is not about qualifying for the winners bracket. Really, okay, that's nice. It's really about trying to qualify for the World Championship. The other teams that are locked into winners, they have no concerns about getting through to the World Championship. Vegas are going to be in a big battle for it, so every 10 points matters very much so indeed. Miami needed to win today, emphatically so. If they wanted any chance of getting to winners, we shall discuss their series in a second. This also was kind of interesting looking at if your favourite team is... who do you want to win? And based on the results that we saw, there's not that many, if any, really, favourite teams that will actually be especially happy with the result in terms of winners bracket qualification going into the major. Just quickly wanted to mention this as well from Scump. I'm really glad that everything's okay here, because there was, discussions obviously with Scump on the watch party yesterday, and as he says, apologies for leaving the watch party so abruptly. My fiance was in an accident, wanted to make sure all was okay. Thankfully, everyone involved is fine, but yeah, look at the car, right? So yeah, scary stuff. Glad everyone's okay. But first of all, the Los Angeles Thieves versus the Vegas Legion series. Now, to me, I thought Vegas were going to be favoured in this one based on how they performed recently. I will say, though, that after the Thieves FaZe series, I thought, okay, is this Thieves looking pretty bad? Because I was actually quite impressed with Thieves in the couple of Game 5 wins they had going in. But then they got slammed by FaZe. I'm like, okay, is that just FaZe being basically untouchable right now? Or is that Thieves being super suspect still? Probably a bit of both, to be fair. But, as soon as you lose in that way to FaZe, you think, all right, well, we're going to be winning any event anytime soon. But at least they're still good enough to get where they could be. And honestly, going into the major, you've got to consider Thieves as a bit of a dark horse. Probably not a team you want to really be playing at the moment unless you're FaZe, because they crush everyone below them as it stands. Now this, however, was before the replay happens. Funny thing about this was, so basically Geo's controller stopped working, they had to replay it from scratch. The game wasn't too deep, so probably not too much of a big deal, but I thought it was funny that Nastie started out this game 1 0-5. They then replayed it, and he started out the replay 0-8. So this guy could not buy a kill. I think he went 0-9 even, actually, as well. But to be fair to Vegas, they closed out this game 1. But it was a very messy game 1. Look at the slaying here. Afro's double negative. Nastie's double negative. Ghosty's not far off double negative. Attach is 33 and 14. Like, these guys were slaying Thieves off the face of the planet. But they actually only won by 45 points. And if you're Thieves, it's like, well, you never like getting slayed into brute oblivion on a game 1. It never feels good. But there was definitely a feeling for myself in this series that Thieves, their teamwork, can you believe it, is actually pretty good. Like, when you watch them play, they go with each other, they trade, they get more impact than the slaying number suggests. And they didn't outslay massively Thieves from here to the end of the series, although they did, I think, by like 30 kills over the next 3 maps. But they won all those maps impressively so. So I will say for Thieves, there's lots of teams. You've basically got right now the top 4 and the bottom 8. That's basically how it seems. You could even argue there is a bit of a midfield in there, and then you've got the bottom 4, which is a no-go zone, and maybe there's another couple of teams in that mix based on what we saw today. But in that pack of bottom 8 teams, there aren't many that show great levels of teamwork. Thieves actually kind of look like one of them right now. Afro is, I like Afro. I think that he's got a high ceiling. He definitely's got to figure out his respawn though, right? Because in the hard points, this guy is no doubt a liability. But his search and destroy is still really good. Like, Afro's search has been good all season long, and it's been a key reason why Thieves have at least got some points, to be honest, because their hard point has been atrocious all year. Finally, they won one, though, in the map 4 that we shall dive into. This, to me, though, was the first series, really, for Vegas, where it seemed like, okay, when their star players don't go double positive, pretty much, what actually happens? Because Attach and Nero have been doing it all for some time, really, for these Vegas guys. This series, sure, Attach went nuclear still, game 1, and he had a good series apart from that, but Nero didn't have a great one. Geo, who played well the other day, didn't have a great one. And we know that Purge can be a bit of a liability from a slaying perspective, right? Ghosty was slaying them down here on the round 5 high-rise control. No chance for Legion in this one. That 3-piece is pretty ugly from the Vegas side, to be fair. They close out the control. Ghosty goes 35 and 22. Will say, though, massive series here for Kremp. I thought, honestly, of all the players on this team so far, Afro had impressed me in parts. Nastie, I thought, had been pretty good since he joined them, to be fair. Lots of damage that he deals, even if his KD isn't always the best. Ghosty's been generally pretty spectacular for these guys, their best player. But Crimp was the player that hadn't really shown much until this specific series. But Nero had a rough one. Geo had a really rough one here, so they go down in 4 because they win the Rio. Los Angeles Thieves, that is. And again, it's a bit of a tough one from Purge. So I think this is where the questions will be. Obviously, Vegas have got significantly better. You can't expect them to win every series they play. Thieves are, solid enough. But still, you look at the Vegas team, you think, all right, well, this is one of those series that maybe points some evidence towards if they could, maybe they could take a step forward is the point, really, if they brought in some more slaying power. The other point as well for Vegas, they rage quit the game. Really, I think it was Purge and Geo maybe left the game. And if you guys aren't aware about this, Easy Mac, when he, did the stat tracking and stuff, if people would rage quit the game, he'd give them own 30. I think he joked around about it at some point and then he did it for real, just as a bit of a joke. And it seems like it's time for these 0 and 30s to come back in business. We'll just mention this because I know it was going around. This is Katie, girlfriend to Standy, of course, former Vegas Legion man, now dropped from the team. The team undoubtedly got better, as far as I'm concerned. I know that Standy did make the statement that, well, it's strength of schedule, and that is also true. But, I don't know. I think the Vegas team got better. Not good enough to beat everybody, so, I don't know. She's trying to throw the dagger at Vegas, basically, and saying, oh, you drop Standy, and you lose to Thieves. And, okay, you're going to get either side. I just wanted to mention it because, of course, we saw all the other drama that happened between Drazah and Scrappy. That was kind of kicked off by, their respective girlfriends going back and forth, shall we say, on the timeline. Quickly here from Ghosty. He's now 18-9 in qualifier games. We obviously know that his time on OpTic was pretty good last year, but now they're 3-2, major 2 so far, and Thieves looking, honestly, in a pretty decent spot going into the major. So, Attached for the way had a 1.5 for the loss. That's rough. And Nero didn't have his best series, and Purge actually did some decent damage, but still 0.8. So questions going to be raised, but I think I was mainly more so impressed by Thieves here than I was disappointed by Vegas. And Crimp especially finally had a series where he looked like the, slaying power that we know he can be. Okay, it's only Vegas, but finally, some storylines, right? I mean, come on. We're getting some series where interesting things are happening, and that was certainly true here at Miami versus Ravens. Now, I've made my thoughts clear since day one of this Ravens team that I did not see this felony Clayster duo lasting from an AR size, and I feel like if there was any series to exemplify that, today we got to see it. Now, Miami, I don't like this team either, to be honest with you. They did play well in this series. I still believe they're a highly suspect team, but I do think that naturally with Miami, the way that they play the game, you are going to get series like this where they look like gods among men. And it's just funny how predictable the Miami situation is. Okay, maybe it's not predictable. Like, they actually slammed Ravens on the map they won in this series. They dominated the game 1. They dominated the game 2. And then, however, they got crushed on the Game 3 high-rise control to a Ravens team that are not a great control team, right? So I think this is like the swings and roundabouts that Heretics will deal with. It's just the natural consequence of the way that Heretics play the game. They don't always trade that much. They fly at you. When the teamwork's there and they're frying, it actually looks really damn good, as it did the first couple of maps and the Game 4. But when it's not working, they are liable to get slammed. And I think this is just the way that it goes if you're a Miami Heretics fan. But, honestly, I don't dislike their playstyle in some respects. Like, that is Spanish COD. That's how they're going to do it. And sometimes they're going to look, fantastic. Sometimes they're going to get slammed. Probably most of the time they're going to get slammed based on recent evidence. But today, against Ravens, Clay had a good Game 4 here, or Game 3, sorry, on the high-rise control. But apart from that, it was a stinker. And this was ugly to watch. Vikul had a phenomenal Game 4 as well. But yeah, this Clayfellow duo, I don't know. If Gwyn doesn't absolutely tuck these kids into bed on the other side of the stage, they ain't winning. That's just how it is. Gwyn basically needs to fry these teams if they want any chance. Miami ran away with this one. And, I roasted Fellow. I like Fellow, right? Don't get me wrong. I think he's a quality guy, and honestly a quality player as well. He played well on LAN. But his online performances have been shocking. Ever since he first came into this team, he was dropping 0.7s. In this series, he had a 0.6. I will also say, I've made this point clear for some time now, that whenever you go to a listen-in with Ravens, or Vegas as it was last year, when Ravens are down, it's like, The comms from Clay's side just don't sound good, and I don't really know if the team gets annoyed by that. I don't know. I get annoyed as a viewer because I listen to Clay's comms and I'm like, come on, can we not bring some energy or like at least try and pretend that you think you're going to win the game? I don't know. But at the end of the day, Gwyn and TJ tried their best, but Fellow had 43 kills for a 0.6 and 10,000 kills and 10,000 damage. Sorry, yeah, 10,000 kills would have been an alright performance. So fair play. Miami get their first victory on the board, but again, it's like series like this that for Ravens down the line are just kind of unacceptable because that's 10 CDL points that they may come to rue in several months' time. And I don't know, do you guys think that this is the last stage with the Clay Fellow AR duo? I'm kind of tempted to believe so, depending on what happens at the major. But some truly incredible scenes in the OpTic versus Toronto series. As soon as I saw this map, so I thought, okay, this is going to be a bag outright, because on paper, Toronto had effectively done to FaZe, or done to OpTic what they did to FaZe, which is just straight square up. Now, to be fair, some of these maps Toronto like as well, so it's not quite to the extreme of the FaZe series, where they basically played all of FaZe's best maps. But nonetheless, Toronto went into this one and said, you know what, OpTic, you can have the maps that you like, and we're going to beat you on it, or at least try and get the practice on those maps going into the major. Toronto, you know, they obviously take it seriously. They certainly were going hard this series, and the way the series concluded was pretty remarkable to me, given what we have discussed on the respective search and destroy map pools over the last few days. But despite the fact that OpTic's S&D map pool still feels relatively limited, Toronto's might be in a similar position. We know that they've been very frustrated that Skid Row search is gone, that Terminal S&D is still in, and that may remain a key deciding factor, especially as we get into the major. By the way, Envoy, of course, after OpTic got rid of him, 9 in 5 against OpTic since getting dropped, but did not have the greatest conclusion here to the series. I mean, I think this is actually a replay of the fidget spinner moment, to be fair, so that's why we saw this happening again, of course, as it did against FaZe the other day, but Ultra came out swinging game 1. I still feel like Shotzzy and Pred are unbelievable on this map, but Kenny and Dashy didn't have the greatest map here, and to be fair, CleanX on maps like this is just so good. The star of the show, though, game 1 was Scrappy, and it's incredibly impressive how Scrappy is able to go 36 and 26 on a sub. Now, the sub is very good. Nobody is denying that, but the fact that you've got your, you know, second AR player, your primary AR slayer, can just pull out a sub if necessary and absolutely dominate the lobby. That is remarkable impact. I was really waiting for as well this Rio hardpoint between OpTic and Toronto. Like, on paper it should have been great, and it was pretty damn good. But Ultra and Scrappy had too much the game 1, and at this point I thought, you know what? It's looking very good for Ultra, right? OpTic just lost their Rio hardpoint. We then go to a Karachi search. Now, OpTic like this map, but as do Toronto. They've both been really good at it. So this performance here from OpTic was actually really impressive to me. The game 5 was emphatic as well, but I thought this Karachi was more impressive because it's difficult to 6-0 Toronto. Well, it feels that to be true, but to be fair, Vegas did it not that long ago on Rio. So all of a sudden, Ultra, despite losing 0 search and destroys during Major 1 in Boston, they're losing a lot of searches lately, and emphatically so. To be honest, right, when I predicted this series, I thought Game 5 was definitely possible, but if it did go Game 5, I felt like Ultra would be the stronger team. That was not the case at all today. This is a funny round as well here. You guys might remember the aBeZy 1v2 Ninja Defuse against Kenny and Dashy earlier on in the season, which is basically this exact scenario, but there was maybe a second and a half left on the clock here when Kenny got the kill here on CleanX. This was a funny round as well when Scrappy was mind blown at this from Pred. It kind of looks like when he's reloading it that it's an MCW from this angle, but it's actually not, because you can see here that he's definitely got the Rifle 9 in hands. And Scrap just to be fair, he misses a couple of shots, but wow, Scrappy just got incinerated there, and yeah, that was game job done for OpTic. So they bounced back in the series 1-1, and that was really impressively done. The type of stuff that the top teams tend to do, right? They go down or they go up 1-0 and they capitalize on the next up search and destroy. However, this is when Shotzzy just completely took over the series. I don't know what it is with this guy lately, whether it's the Rifle 9 buff or whatever, but Shotzzy is a menace right now. There's a few players that are candidates for best players in the game. Cellium's always going to be up there. Simp to me is right up there. But Shotzzy might be the best in the world right now. Scrappy's up there as well. But come on, the way that Shotzzy is playing on a consistent basis, and he's not just doing it against the teams they should beat. He did this today, breaking records against Toronto. To be fair, this is an invasion control that Ultra don't especially like, but Shotzzy went off this game 3. They stacked hard. He broke the records for the kill spree. He went on a 13 spree this game. He broke the record for KD in this game with well over a 3. Pretty sure the previous record was by Pred against Ravens, was it, a while ago? 26 and 8 hit from Shotzzy to just completely decimate Ultra. And this was arguably the most impressive Neslo you're ever going to see. Neslo's a 2-3-5 victory. OpTic here dominate the game 2, dominate the game 3, and came very close to 6-0 in the game 5. However, despite OpTic starting on good side on the Skid Row, Ultra actually played this really well, and CleanX especially, as he's done before, took over this map big time. But it was interesting that OpTic felt super confident, clearly, going into Game 5. It was a terminal search and destroy. We said the other day, OpTic suck at terminal. And, well, that was true a couple of days ago. Ultra don't really play this map. They don't like it. Scrappy thinks it's terrible. They wanted Skid Row search to stay in the map pool. And I would agree with Scrappy that probably that should have stayed. But that's not the reality of the situation we live in. And OpTic came with some actual really good setups here. They capitalized on Toronto not playing with anywhere near the teamwork we'd usually expect. And look, I don't think this was Toronto really giving it 100% today, but the series result was nonetheless really impressive from OpTic, and I did not think that if this was going to go one way, it was going to go with an OpTic Neslo, right? Unbelievable scenes. Pred and Shotzzy take over from the slaying category. Envoy had a really rough stretch as well. I think he had 7 on that invasion control, and then started off the game 5 pretty badly as well, but that is going to do it for today. This makes things really interesting. Whatever you want to say about the series and the way that Toronto approached it, nonetheless, this is a series that's going to give OpTic a lot of confidence. They can take down these top teams, puts them in a great spot as well going into the major. They're currently sitting at 6-0, of course. And all of a sudden, it feels like we have a real championship battle on our hands once again. So very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.